Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste everyone, very warm welcome to Satsang today. Guru Chumuji Baba ki Jai. If there are some questions, I'm happy to look at them. And you can tell me if the audio is working fine. My audio doesn't seem to be working. Page number 49. We're reading from the Yoga Vashisht Yoga by Swami Venkatesananda. Page 49. The Absolute is immaterial, and so material sources of light, like the sun, do not illuminate it, but it is self-luminous, and therefore it is not inert nor dark. The Absolute cannot be realized or experienced by another. Only the Absolute can realize itself. Often we say like that. In whose light is the sun shining? Now this Absolute is immaterial, not in the sense of immaterial, oh that's immaterial. Not in the sense of unimportant immaterial, but in the sense of being non-phenomenal. Now what can shine light on something which is non-phenomenal? This non-phenomenal, if something is not a thing, if something is not a thing, what can bring light to it? The sun's light falls on all things or even something which is not phenomenal. That which is not a thing. The Absolute is immaterial in the sense of not being a material substance. And so material sources of light, like the sun, do not illuminate it, but it is self-luminous to the extent that the very light of existence itself, in whose light all of this world play seems to appear, you see, comes from this, which is beyond light and darkness. And therefore it is not inner nor dark. This is a very important point. Because anytime we say not a thing, then the mind visualizes a dark, empty space. for awareness, you see, that which is the primal witness of all things. Then the mind will say, okay, I help with that. It paints this picture of a very dark space. The question there is, who is the witness even of that? The witness of dark or light. Is that dark or light? The witness of either darkness or light. What is that? Is that dark or light? Yeah, it's a very beautiful thing. This absolute cannot be realized or experienced by another. You see, there cannot be the absolute and another. If there was the absolute and another, then the absolute would not be the absolute. Only the absolute can realize itself. The infinite consciousness is even purer than infinite space. And the world is even as that infinite is. But one who has not tasted capsicum does not know its taste. Even so, one does not experience consciousness in the infinite in the absence of objectivity. Hence, even this consciousness appears to be inert or insentient, and the world is experienced as such too. Even as in intangible ocean, the tangible waves are seen, in the formless Brahman, the world also exists within form. Again.
He saw it cracking.
Even as in tangible ocean, even as in the tangible ocean, tangible waves are seen, in the formless Brahman, the world also exists. From the infinite emerges and exists in it as the infinite. Hence, the world has never really been created. It is the same as that from which it emerges. Everyone got it, no? So this absolute is beyond wholeness, beyond infinity. But the best words we have to describe it is wholeness or infinity. Now that which emerges from this, which is this consciousness itself, this being itself, or even this universal realm, as we call it, the universe itself, all of these are also infinite. So this is that infinite potential from which even these infinite manifestations appear, and yet it continues to remain absolute or infinite. This is the uniqueness of this. It is that cause which, once it manifests, also remains completely as it was, which is not to be found in any phenomena. In phenomena, if there is potential for something and it manifests, then it runs out of that potentiality. Like a spring, if it has potential energy stored up, and if it springs out, it expresses itself, it manifests itself, then it has no longer the potential energy stored up. But this absolute, this whole infinite realm comes from that. Infinite consciousness is born in that, and yet it remains whole. When the notion of self is destroyed by the withdrawal of the fuel of ideas from the mind, that which is the infinite. Very good. When the notion of self is destroyed by the withdrawal of the fuel of ideas from the mind, then that which is the infinite. That which is not sleep nor inert is the infinite. It is on account of the infinite that knowledge, knower, and known exist as one in the absence of the intellect. So what is when you are motionless? What is?
You mean like what's the definition?
Hmm?
Do you mean like what's the definition?
No, I mean when you are motionless, then what is?
What
What do you mean?
Just experience.
Hmm?
Experience.
Experience. But suppose experience was also motion. Suppose you did not know experience or the meaning of experience.
Existence.
Existence. Now suppose can we go that far? If we didn't know what it means to exist, what existence was. And here I know that we are grappling with the holy grail of Satsang itself, the very I amness, the beingness itself. But suppose we had no notion even of that. I don't know what it means to exist or not. Then
There's no
there's no word for it. Now here there are no distinctions left. There are no distinctions left. Even the distinction between the absolute witness and the beingness which emerges from it. Me and the world, there is no such thing. But this can be tasted like here the sage is saying, just like you cannot explain the taste of capsicum to one who has not tasted it. Okay, so then Ram says, Lord, during the cosmic dissolution, this world, which is clearly seen now, where does it go? So Ram is having a conversation with the great sage Vashisht. And this whole scripture is about that. So Ram asks, Lord, during the cosmic dissolution, this world, which is clearly seen now, where does it go? Now Vashisht says, from where does the son of a barren woman come? Okay, so don't mind the language. It's a bit terse because it's from those days. From where does the son of a barren woman come? And where does he go? A barren woman's son has no existence ever. Even so, this world, as such, has no existence ever. This analogy baffles you only because you have taken the existence of the world for granted. Consider this. Is there a braceletness in the golden bracelet? Is it not just gold? Is there a thing called sky, independent of the emptiness? Even so, there is no thing called the world, independent of Brahman, the Absolute. There is no thing called the world, independent of Brahman, the Absolute. Just as coldness is inseparable from ice, what is called the world is inseparable from Brahman. Water in the mirage does not come into being and go out of existence. Even so, this world does not come out of the Absolute, nor does it go anywhere. So it is neither created nor not created. It is neither real nor unreal. The creation of the world has no cause, and therefore it has had no beginning. It does not exist even now. How can it reach destruction? Page 36. 36 is probably Ram lamenting. It's okay. It's okay. 110. So this is the sun god is speaking. When one, on the other hand, thinks, I am a little body, he becomes a mortal being, one whose consciousness is extroverted, experiences pleasure and pain. The yogi, on the other hand, whose vision is introverted, does not entertain ideas of pain and pleasure. In this connection, there is a legend which I shall narrate to you. You hear the legend? Okay, let's see. In the country of Magadha, in the country of Magad, there was a king named Indra Jumna. Let's call him Indra. In the country of Magad, there was a king named Indra. Ahalya was his wife. In that place, there was also a handsome young man of, of loose morals known as Indra. So Indra, Dyumna, and Indra. One day, during a discourse, the queen listened to the story of the seduction of the famed Ahilya by Indra, the king of heaven. So now there are three Indra. The king named Indra Dyumna. There's a man with loose morals known as Indra, and there's this Indra who's the king of the heaven in the story. As a result, she conceived a great love for the young man Indra. Ahilya was distraught with love for Indra, and with the help of one of her maids, managed to have the young man brought to her. From then onwards, Indra and Ahilya used to meet each other in the secret house and enjoy themselves. Ahilya was so fond of Indra that she saw him everywhere. The very thought of him made her face radiant. As their love grew, their relationship became public, and it reached the king's ears. The irate king, in an effort to break this relationship, punished them in numerous ways. They were immersed in ice cold water. They were fried in boiling oil. They were tied to the legs of an elephant. They were whipped. Indra said to the king, laughingly, O king, the entire universe, to me, is nothing but my beloved. So it is to Ahalya. Hence, we are unaffected by all these. Sir, I am only mind, and mind alone is the individual. You can punish the body, but you cannot punish the mind, nor bring about the least change in it. If the mind is fully saturated with something, whatever happens to the body does not affect the mind. The mind is unaffected even by boons and curses, even as, even as the firmly established mountain is not moved by the horns of the little beast. The body does not create the mind, but the mind creates the body. The mind alone is the seed for the body. When the tree dies, the seed does not. But when the seed perishes, the tree dies with it. If the body perishes, the mind can create other bodies for itself. The story means the big mind is like a consciousness. In India, many times the mind is referred to as big mind and small mind. Big mind is that being itself, consciousness itself, which gives birth to the small mind, which is bundle of thoughts. So here, when they're referring to mind, means the sense of existence or being. The author explains later. Lord, in your own consciousness, create the world as you like. In truth, the infinite consciousness, the mind, one's own consciousness, in brackets, and the infinite space are all of one substance, pervaded by the infinite consciousness. Yeah, it was a good. No questions? The part which is page 336, the sage says, the truth is beyond thought and understanding. It is supreme peace and omnipresent. It transcends imagination and description. There arises naturally in it the faculty of conceptualization. This self-understanding is considered to be threefold: subtle, middling, and gross. Did you see the paragraph I put on Facebook? Where the sage said, it is easier to be motionless than to crush a rose petal in your hand, because even that needs effort. Even that needs effort. But motionlessness is effortless. That is why the other day I was asking, what is most natural? Simplest. What is the simplest? Zero effort. What is the simplest? Simplest is simplest to do nothing. But even to do nothing, you must be there, no? So to be is simpler than, because even like when we have the idea that I'm going to do nothing, then we try to do the doing nothing. Like Guruji says sometimes that one way to not be natural is to try and be natural. So this existence, you have no notion of it. You don't have the notion of, oh, I am existing. So this has become like the sadhana here, like a practice here. Just remain motionless. I like that game. Remain motionless. And if you're buying any notion, then you expose it. So you do that. So remain motionless. All motion will come. Many will come, many ideas will come, thoughts will come. Let them come and go. But if it feels like something really has meaning, something really is true as a notion, then you can expose it. So since yesterday, she has been doing the motionlessness. Yes.
It's really good meditation. Even like the worst place in work, everything looks like it, bright and
Everything is
spacious.
bright and spacious, without the notions of bright or spacious.
It's just like wow.
Yeah.
Like you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
One page. Instantly, I feel like my whole body is like I feel discomfort which I can't
But immediately she feels some great discomfort in the body.
yeah, it's almost like
So try now.
now I have to
Yeah.
literally it's just now it's clear and clear. Something that you want to
Yes. It's the habit which doesn't want to. The seeming addiction to our limitedness seems to play out mentally, psychologically, even energetically. But don't bother. Don't bother about what it is doing. And don't say it's very strong. The ideas of strong or a lot all comes from a very relative idea about ourselves. If I am a tiny object, then something is strong for me, or is a lot for me. Now, if you are that in which even this infinite space comes, what is too much? What is a lot? The lot is just a notion. It is just an interpretation. You can die there. You can safely die there. You know what I mean? Have no fear. It is like people come to the ghats of the Ganga to die. The last few years of their life. But if you have to, if something comes so strong that the life energy completely goes away, that is completely auspicious. So you have no fear about that, because this fear is of the fear of death, the fear of the unknown. It's completely fine to die there. It was okay compared to death. It's let it, let it. I remember this conversation very vividly with Guruji. Somebody came and said like that. She sat down and she came and sat down and she said, "I just feel like my head is going to explode. I just feel like my head is going to explode." And he said, "I've never seen a head exploding. It'll be very nice." So let it explode. You see, the mind gives these notions which are terrible sounding, but it doesn't turn out to be anything at all, usually. Who knows? In consciousness, all things are possible. The head might explode. Who can tell it? You will become an immortal then. Imagine you came to Satsang and literally your physical head exploded. You will be known for time immemorial. And what better enlightenment experience you? These are just unfounded. Why I'm laughing at them, making light of them, is because they are unfounded fear. They are unfounded fears for the unlimited self. They seem like valid fears when we still have some idea of being the body or being a limited entity. So remaining in emotionlessness, even if it feels like my head is exploding, but I'm going to just. And for those who, it's even more trouble, it seems like for those who nothing is happening. I come to my emotionlessness, but no head exploding, no energetic kundalini, nothing happening. Like, I must be doing this long. Is also an emotion.
Has anyone ever got a heart attack in Satsang?
Huh?
Has anyone ever got a heart attack?
Heart
What
attack?
about heart attack?
Not in Satsang with me, or I've never seen one with Guruji. Heart attack. If you mean by the cardiac arrest one, no. Mind attack, yes. Rather, that which is recognized when motionless, that which is recognized when motionless, isn't it also there even when fully playing with motions? Yes, yes. It is the unchanging self. You see, that's why I keep saying satsang is a strange game. It's a strange game where at one, in reality, even this is not needed because you are the self and the self alone, and nothing has happened to the self. Yet, when it seems like we are that suffering individual, then in life, satsang can seem to be the best gift, the best antidote to suffering. You see? So, while reality remains unchanged, yet for those who came like they were suffering individuals, who came with so much fear and stress and anxiety and sense of meaninglessness, then when they find through this play, this game of satsang, they find something which is the unchanging side. Even they recognize that even during the suffering, I was just the unchanging side, was believing myself to be something else. That is the game, the play of satsang. So the self is always the self. But the self playing in this world is always playing in one of two modes. You know this means probably. It is either playing in God mode, it is God now, or it is playing in me now. Me followed by suffering is inevitable in the design of this world. Spaciousness, God presence, divine presence is apparent, and we are empty of this me notion. That's why yesterday I was saying, I know that there is a time where it can feel like this is a choice. There is a time where this can feel like it is a choice. And as long as it feels like it is a choice, we must make this choice. I've seen that very often we fall into the trap of when it comes to coming to the truth, we say, no, no, but I'm not the doer, I'm not the decision maker. But everything else we seem like, we are choosing or picking and deciding. So the sense of doership, of decision making is alive in the rest of life. Then better not come to some sort of this Advaita denial. Then you make the choice to be free of emotion, make the choice to not believe your next thought. Then you will see that there never has been a choice anyway. As long as there's a belief in individuality, there's a belief in personhood, the sense of choice is very much present. Even though we might be in some sort of a denial that, no, no, I'm not the doer. But then we come into this doing the not doing. We come into like an active doing of the non-doing because we've heard in satsang that you are not the doer. So that which you consider yourself to be is neither doer nor non-doer, because that one does not exist at all. Treat every notion as if it is not applicable to you. Treat every notion as if it is not applicable. It is an email sent in error. An email comes to you and says, you must go to HAL police station and get verification done. You see? So that is all that is in the subject. Then you read, oh, it is dear somebody else. I don't have to spoil half my day waiting at the police station. The same way, all these emails from the mind are not meant for you. The mind has the wrong WhatsApp number. It is trying to reach a person. Let all messages be directed towards Sadguru. This Guru Kripa Kevalam everything. Autoresponder. Yes, I've come from full day at work, okay? All these work references. Let your autoresponder be Guru Kripa Kevalam. All emails from my Guru Kripa Kevalam. Oh, but you're running out of money. Guru Kripa Kevalam. That's such an irresponsible way to live. Guru Kripa Kevalam. You are going to end up on the streets. Guru Kripa Kevalam. You're being a complete loser. Guru Kripa Kevalam. Nothing is going to happen to your life. You're complete waste. Guru Kripa. Oh, that means now you found the cheat code. You don't have to do anything at all. Guru Kripa Kevalam. You can just sit in bed all day. Guru Kripa Kevalam. I don't need to do work. Guru Kripa Kevalam. You need to work very hard. Guru Kripa Kevalam. You see, no position, either of them is not applicable. Then sometimes we'll see body simply working. Sometimes we'll see body is just in bed. Guru Kripa Kevalam. The trouble with the idea of surrender is that the mind feels like, oh, but this means that I must become this way, I must become passive. But that is not Guru Kripa Kevalam. Guru Kripa Kevalam is either way. I have no notion of how this life should turn out. I have no idea of what actions or inactions should happen from here. It can feel a bit wobbly to not know what the future brings. To not try and control the content of your experience can feel a bit strange. So I don't even want to tell you it's an adventure, because that creates an expectation. It can either be full Indiana Jones adventure, or it can be very, very normal existence. Nobody knows. Now suppose you were going for a movie, and I told you every scene of this movie beforehand. Would you like it? Then why are you running your life like this? You want to know every scene, what's next, what. that is the path of surrender. Everything is Father's problem. It has nothing to do with activity or action. It is about your inner attitude. Full-on activity or action is possible, or no activity, no action is possible. Both are possible, and they have been done always by consciousness anyway. The consciousness is running this world, which doesn't exist. That's why it's effortless. So that is surrender. And inquiry is, who is this one? Who is this? What is this? Who am I? You don't know. Like, what is this? Nobody knows. If I tell you, no idea. If I tell you, do you know what is going on in this room? You have no idea. I have no idea. See how that look. So then what are we doing here? Nobody knows what is going on. If you think you're the body is going to die immediately, then why you want to give it freedom before dying? Then you must think that you are something beyond the body. So you feel like, oh, before the body dies, let me find my freedom. Isn't it? Before the body dies, let me find my freedom. So then who is this one? If you just believe that you are the body, why would you come to Satsang? Most uncomfortable seating. Temperature we can never agree on. Noise. Live in Bangalore, too much traffic. If you just thought you were the body, there are many better places to pamper the body. So what is it that you think you are? Once knowing the truth, and still consciousness can choose to play as not interested in truth? Yes. Well, consciousness has always known the truth, and yet it chooses to play. There is no limitation or right lines for consciousness. What does it have to do with you? What consciousness is doing, what does it have to do with you? Nothing. You can say nothing or everything. But basically, even inherent in that question is, oh, so now consciousness has seen the truth. It basically means I've seen the truth now, but why do I keep going back to the false? Or why do I seem to lose interest? This me is non-existent. Because the one that sees the truth, that has come to the recognition of its own source, like I say, that one does not have this question. ना ठग है ना ठगी ना कोई ठगा हुआ. Which means there is no thief, there is nobody who has been robbed, and But none of this is happening to anybody. Or we can say that both thief, policeman, everything is the one self, one consciousness. Some sort of dissatisfaction from the mind for this answer. Yes. Which answer that leads to dissolution of concepts, gets satisfaction from the mind, gets a certificate of approval. The mind just wants to keep you involved in building these conceptual ideas from which you can feel like now I know what is going on. Or now I can control the content of my life. What joy does it get? She said. It is doing its job very well. It is the design. And you have created this for your joy. To taste yourself as if you are a limited one, and to come to the dissolution of this limitation that never happened. There is no question, no doubt, no clarification that I need. Yet there is just a pull that keeps trying to come up with a question or a doubt because it doesn't know what else to do. Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, the wobbliness. Can manifest in this way because all your concepts, all this house of cards of false knowing is being blown away. Right? And it can feel a bit strange because you've used these concepts as crutches so long. It can feel like if you don't latch onto something, you will fall. But you're not going to fall. Your head is not going to explode. Your intestines are not going to come out. Nothing will happen. Or who knows? Guru Kripa Kevalam. Then one says, in fact, I'm enjoying this limitedness. Yeah, all caps too. I'm enjoying this limitedness as long as it's not hurting. Listen, me is followed by ow. Sometimes there is a gap between me and ow. You can feel like it is not hurting. So as long as, unless you're like, me, quickly, God. I won't recommend it to anyone. That's how it is at the moment. Me, God. No how. Not a recommended strategy. Yeah. There's nothing missing in God now. The notion I am dying is persistent. I can't shift it. Unusually, I don't have much energy. Is this one a huge mind trick for me? Well, there are two ways to look at this. If you're referring to yourself as the body, then it is true, the body is dying. Everybody is dying. It's a beautiful acceptance. Every single body is dying. But if you're not referring to yourself as the body, then what is dying? The mind. So the mind is dying. Very good. If you live in Thiru and the mind is dying, that is the life. Trouble is what? The one that has never been, the one that has never existed, is dying fast. I'm so scared. There is nothing left to hold on to, not even Satsang. So before you leave Satsang, leave I'm so scared. Is it? Because I'm so scared is also a notion. So not even Satsang is also a notion. So first leave I'm so scared, then you can leave the notion of Satsang or no Satsang. Let's see. Let's add some stage fright to the fear. Now, what if you didn't label this sensation fear? Huh? No, the wrong button. Unmute. Oh, you can't. Okay, okay. So I was saying, there is a set of sensations. Okay? Suppose there was something wrong with your interpretation, and you were not calling it fear, you were calling it boredom or joy. What are you now? Your internet is not so clear. Okay, she's typing. She says, I feel like I don't exist. To me, that is. That's very good, no? It's become such a regular thing that whatever most of you are conveying to me as bad news, to me it mostly sounds like good news. I feel like the me doesn't exist. Exactly. Then one more question is, it seems that the feeling of separateness makes me suffer. Yes. Let's call it the notion of separateness. Whatever feeling might be there, the feeling is a feeling. Nothing separates you because you are not on this side of the feeling of separateness and there is not something other than you on that side of the feeling of separateness. Whatever the feeling is, both sides of all sides of that feeling is you. What is a There is a feeling happening within you. On the left of the feeling is you, on the right of the feeling is you, in front of the feeling is you, behind the feeling is you. So what is the separation? See? When we label it separateness, the trouble comes. And it says, and then the mind crashes this truth. Is I feel like I don't exist to me, then the mind comes and crashes this truth. What is the mind doing? Just offering up notion after notion. Is it? You are the space in which the notions are arising. You are the space in which all sensations, all perceptions are coming into. Now, let a notion make a scratch on this space. Let it crash into some space. Can it? Invite it, welcome it. Don't say mind go away, say come. Make one scratch, make one mark on this space, even physical space. Can we become little like this? Bring it on types? Invite the mind and say, okay, bring it on. Let me see you make a scratch on this space. You can't even make a scratch on this space, which is the space which is much more, I am much more subtle than even this space. So if you can't even make a scratch on this space, what scratch will you make on the self? Your magnificence is beyond, much beyond this mind. Much beyond this mind. It's like You're royalty, okay? And so your prince, Harry got married. William, Harry got married just now. What? What kind of bait are you? so, so you're Prince Harry, okay? And you're getting married just now, and suddenly there's a tiny ant which is walking across the church. You say, "But I can't get married. There's a tiny ant in the church." Your truth is much greater than that. You're God itself. Beyond that, even higher than that, God itself. And this tiny insect comes. What is happening to you? There is no sufferer. Nobody has ever found the one who is suffering. The body is not complaining about the mind. Consciousness is not complaining about the mind. The absolute is not complaining about the mind. It is the mind pretending to be the policeman, complaining about the thief, which is itself. What can you not Guru Kripa Kevalam? Death of the body, that is outside the scope of your master's grace. Is it? There is it's like you have an all expenses paid holiday. You see, in Bali or something like that. All expenses paid holiday in Bali. But it feels like uh, you're trying to earn 10 rupees here and there so that you can have your next meal. If you're a master, then there's nothing you have to worry about. Life, death, what to do, what not to do, where to go, where not to go, whether you're understanding, not understanding. Everything is the Guru's problem. That's why I often say either you can have a Guru or a problem. And this will appeal more to the devotional temperament, of course. I know that to the logical ones, it will just sound like airy fairy stuff. But I'm telling you this because I know you have a devotional temperament. So, what is outside the Guru's scope? What cannot be managed by the divine? and says, I can see how my conditioning is not used to Guru Kripa Kevalam, but I'm open. Openness is enough to any aspect of satsang. It doesn't have to be surrender. It doesn't have to be inquiry. It can be either, or just at least if there is openness to come to satsang for a few minutes, then something will already start to unfold. Even if you don't trust that yet, even that is fine. Just a few moments in your life where you're not chanting the mantra of me. Just a few moments of our lives when you're not chanting the me mantra. Yes. He says nobody tells us in school about these things. In fact, school can be great for many things, but the whole paradigm of using concepts to know something becomes very, very oppressive. Because we come into even this quest for freedom, or the search for meaning, as if one day when we know enough, we'll be free. But actually, satsang is a great unburdening from this conceptual knowledge. Nothing of importance leaves when you are unburdening yourself from concepts. It can sound like a very obvious thing. Nothing which is valuable, nothing worth any consequence leaves when you just remain empty of nothing. You will see that conversations can continue to happen, movement of the body can continue to happen. These words are being shared, they're just arising. The hearing of them is arising. Nobody is deciding, nobody is doing it. Not. If there is no doer, then there shouldn't be any pride. Yes. No pride, no guilt. No grievance, no resentment, no regret, no should have, could have, would have. Try a life without labels. back guarantee.
That's an easy one.
Try life without labels, and if it doesn't work, money full refund. Bas. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Shri Moji Baba ki Jai.
Sri Ananta-Ji ki Jai.
Guru Kripa Kevalam.